Hi everyone, my name is Maheen and I am going to share with you some thoughts about building healthy habits from the point of view of someone who has done it and continues to do it. I want to first point you to this picture that you're seeing of me out in the wilderness, and while it may appear that I'm sleeping, I'm actually meditating, and that's what I want to share with you over the next few minutes. So first and foremost, I invite you to celebrate with me that after 30 days of meditating every day for at least 5 minutes, I actually cannot imagine going another day without it. It has been years, all caps, underscore, in bold, years, that I've been trying to build this meditation routine. And for many reasons, some of which I'll share later, I just haven't been able to do it until now. I actually committed to doing it when I found resources that made it easier for me. And I also need to be very clear that I had decided that I was committing to holding myself to task. I believed that I could and that I would do it. And yeah, it is very important to believe in yourself. Having an accountability partner was key. I thankfully have my tiny house panther pictured here, who also masquerades as a house cat, by my side, reminding me every day to get to my pillow. Anytime my yoga pillow, which I often sit on, was on the floor, she would sit on that pillow and wait for me to take my seat. I jest a little here, but truly setting up a way to help yourself be accountable to your goal is really critical in being able to meet that goal. And in the spirit of that, I also have a virtual group of women who I meet up with, and we work out together. And so I actually announced to them that I would be doing this. And while I didn't specifically expect anyone to check in with me, that helped me to be able to feel 100% committed to this goal. So let's talk through a couple of techniques that I used to successfully build the habit. And I've already shared two of them with you. One was I believed in myself, and two was an accountability partner. I also then determined a trigger, or something that would mean whenever that is done, I would begin to meditate. So I found a time of day that worked for me, which was morning at the start of my day, and it fit into my routine actions, and it actually even improved my routine. So I mentioned a moment ago, I have a group of women who I connect with virtually for physical exercise. And what I did was I had been doing this for several months already, that I would wake up in the morning and take my daily vitamins, grab my glass of water, feed the cats, and then I would work out with my group. So the end of the workout group routine began my meditation. Later, I actually switched this while I was taking Brazzo's course on habit building, and I learned that meditating earlier or first thing in the morning can produce even better results. And so I was able to, about 15 days into the challenge, swap it. And I would then get up, take the vitamins, drink the water, feed the cats, meditate, and then work out. And here's just a visual of me with my virtual workout group. We do accountability selfies that we send to one another. And I'll talk about the app that I use in the spirit of sharing resources towards the end of this presentation. So another technique I used was physically writing out my plan. And you can see it illustrated here. I really like to track things, and I feel so much more one, accomplished, but I also feel more accountable to meeting my goals when I write them down for myself. I am very intrinsically motivated. So this was my list. I wrote out day one. I wrote out who was in charge of doing this challenge, myself. And I put the dates as well as an ability to tally. So first you can actually see I started writing yes, that I did it. And then when I started doing it, I realized that I could meditate throughout my day depending on maybe what sort of stressors were happening or what sort of feelings came up. And I really found that meditation was helping me through my day. So you'll see some days here I actually meditated more than once. I also found a lot of resources that helped make meditation accessible to me on demand. And that was a really crucial item for me. I I mentioned earlier that I work really well on in setting intrinsic goals by writing them out. So similarly, I found an app that would actually allow me to schedule the meditations in advance. And I began scheduling 2 to 5 days in advance for in the morning at the specific time that I knew I was going to meditate. The reminder would pop up, or the reality was it wasn't the reminder that I needed, but that moment when I was ready to meditate, I didn't have to think about which meditation I would be doing. I was ready to go. So here's the great news. I no longer need to pre-schedule, and I think I stopped that around the last week or so of the challenge. I also have to share with you that most importantly, I really stopped judging myself for needing to meditate in a certain way or what I had believed was necessary for meditation. For whatever reason, in the past, I had developed this concept in my mind that to meditate, one simply just sort of sits and begins with no guidance. And I've learned that the guidance is what really makes this possible for me. I really appreciate it. I get a lot out of it. And there's no reason for shame around that. So letting go of that and believing in myself allowed me to really own meditation and make it my own. The reality is that meditation begins with my breath and with slowing down. I take note of everything I see, I hear, I taste, smell, or touch. And building that new habit really begins with just a few minutes at a time. So I wanted to mention that for anyone who wants to try this out, you don't have to start with 10 minutes. You can start with 2, you can start with 5, which is what I started with. I've noticed myself over this several months now being able to slow myself down and be more mindful when I'm eating or when I'm sitting in my living room listening to a podcast. Instead of multitasking, I am focusing on the moment, focusing on one thing, and really appreciating it a lot more. So I mentioned this sort of briefly, but after 30 days, I'm continuing with this habit. It's actually been close to 2 months now. And I've learned that I can be flexible with myself on the weekends, so I don't have to maintain that strict get up, vitamins, water, cats, meditate routine that I had set up. So on the weekends, I allow myself a little more flexibility. I meditate when I want. The reality is my mind and body sort of ask for it within the first couple of hours of my day. So while I may wake up a little later or be a little more fluid with my routine, it still tends to happen early on. And I just feel so much more balanced once I've done that. As someone who loves spending quality time with Mother Nature, I also find it incredibly soothing, and it's sort of simple to meditate when I solo hike. I frequently hike anywhere between 7 to 15 miles on my own, and in that space with my breath, the sound of my trekking poles hitting the ground, it's so much easier to just inhale the beauty around me, exhale any negative thoughts, or even exhale and tell myself a story. And that is actually the point that I have picked up from Brazos teaching, referring back to, for example, the 5 breaths. I can use that when I hike and I tell myself the story that I want to have between my ears. So most days, in actuality, I'm just on the floor with my accountability partner, maybe on my yoga mat and maybe on my pillow. It's just me and my breath. And in stressful and unstressful times, meditation is self-care, and it really helps me connect with myself. And I think if you do it, you'll find the same. I promised to share a few resources. This is the name of the app that I use. It's available for mobile devices. It's also available on your laptop, on a regular browser, and it can even be used on smart TVs. I have to note here, this seems like the appropriate time to say I'm not affiliated at all with this app. I get nothing from mentioning it, other than perhaps the joy that it might bring to you as well. It is primarily a workout app that also includes meditation. I also use this meditation option through Audible, which is free. Again, not affiliated. These are just auditory guided meditations between 5 to 10 minutes with various different topics attached to them, like recharge or calm down or reset your day, re-energize, and so on. Once I felt solid in my routine, I also found other YouTube channels at random that I really liked and would mix into my new habit. And I really cannot emphasize enough that creating this routine was possible due to my own mindset of believing in my ability to do this and having a clear reason for doing it, or my own self-concordant goal. And discipline. One of my favorite quotes is actually something I would say to myself when I was feeling least inclined to follow my routine. And that was, you didn't come this far to only come this far. So finally, I do continue this beautiful habit daily, and I shared my elation at completing the 30-day challenge by publishing my story in a blog post on my own website and across multiple social media platforms. I did it because I really get a lot of joy from inspiring others to find ways to their own happiness. And I've linked within this presentation a link to that post if you'd like to see it, which inspired actually this entire presentation. So with that, thank you so much for joining me and listening to my story, and I hope it inspires you as well.